Hello and welcome to this webinar session, which is unusual to some extent, as a part of it will be recorded as a video, so it may be shared with no additional interruptions in terms of questions and answers. And later on, we'll address questions and answers. So the webinar is actually an introduction and a guide for the Horizon Europe. Now, many of you had probably heard about it, and some of you have already a much deeper knowledge about it. Anyway, I'd like to lead you throughout the seminar to the guide, which was created under a very useful technical assistance project. However, I shall not do a project marketing. This is just a free, open, public webinar. But it's worth it to state that the guide was developed for purposes for a project and co-financed in a large extent by the EU. Now, a few words about the guide itself. So the structure of this webinar will directly reflect the structure of the guide. Hence, later on, you will actually have a tool, like a practical guide for each step that may lead you towards successful participation in Horizon Europe. Now, a few words about Horizon Europe and how to use this guide. So this guide is definitely among the first ones for the Horizon Europe, intending to assist prospective participants to successfully navigate through hundreds of calls and topics and identify the best funding source matching their needs. Sections 2 up to 6 actually are summarizing the largest global research and innovation framework program, and focus is actually to steer the reader's attention on calls and topic examples. The next objective is to assist participants in deciding and defining their role in the project. Later on, sections 6, 7, 8, and so on, they're explaining the principles on how to analyze the call for proposals and create a consortium. The philosophy of writing a winning proposal is briefly presented in section 8, and lastly, the explanation of what the grant agreement phase is and some advices for the project implementation are the last section, conclusion. So a few words about the authors. The guide is actually designed based on a compilation and adjustment of many formal European Commission documents for the reader's needs and the best practices of several senior experts who I had the privilege to work with. And of course, my own experience, which is extensive for over 20 years. I've been working in EU funding arena and currently as in a position of a team leader, but previously as well in quite a few of senior and key expert positions and so on. Anyway, so the concept of the guide was to address the most frequent questions for prospective participants and address the most common mistakes and barriers of those who are embarking to take part in Horizon Europe. Now, of course, for more thorough readers, bibliography will provide shortcuts and links to the original sources and enable those who are interested to have more materials, more support materials. But we have attempted to keep the matter, the layout, the style, as concise as it can be. So the first question is, of course, now how to identify funding source for your interests. And those are sections 2 to 5. I shall briefly search through them and explain what they are, understanding the logic behind how Horizon Europe works. Now, what is a work program? Examples of the main call and topics and where to find them. Second most common challenge is decision about possible roles that participants may have to lead or to join a consortium, and hence we'll focus on 2 tracks. One, firstly, to how to create a consortium, how to take part. So that requires to understand the topic description, type of actions, analysis, and initial work breakdown, structure, draft creation, and creation of your partners' profiles, how to do a partner search, and then how to create a consortium. Now, decision otherwise may be for you to lead a consortium and to write a project proposal or lead a project proposal writing process, which would be probably more correct way of presenting it. So that will require planning, of course, and most common pitfalls would be, and their solutions would be to read and understand instructions, so intelligently interpreting instructions. Furthermore, causality and consistency, educating evaluators and providing credible evidence for your statements and for expected impacts. Lastly, of course, provided you're successful, well, congratulations. That leads you to a grant agreement phase. So the last part of the webinar will be devoted to some advices for project implementation. First explaining what is the grant agreement phase, and of course some initial advices on how to start. Now, many of people who I worked with are actually perceiving that Horizon Europe is extremely complex, or that there are too many administrative barriers for them to take part, and so on. Understanding this is the 9th European Research and Innovation Framework Program, which will be running until 2027. And understanding it is a challenge due to its size, scope, and complexity. But the most common pitfall for prospective participants by far is first not reading nor implementing, of course, official instructions. So majority of Norway's participants are rather confused how to take part or demotivated. Well, therefore, the guide actually will serve to provide firstly an orientation where you can take part, in which pillars, work programs, call topics, and type of actions. While of course for those who have more experience, you will have an opportunity to find new funding opportunities. The second pillar for pitfall for non-wise participants is to find a suitable role. And we've created roadmaps how to participate. But to add to the complexity, of course, consortium creation and proposal writing, they also differ very much for each specific call and topic, as Horizon Europe offers the largest number of funding opportunities on the globe, but as well the most competitive ones. So we will address and put more light on those key variables for success in each step, from call analysis to choosing a role, and then consortium creation and writing a winning proposal and preparation for project implementation. Now, when we started this guidelines, we've actually started with explanation about what is the Horizon Europe program. But I won't, in this case, start from here. I will start initially to give you a bit more reader-adjusted instructions, which will be in this section 6, if I remember correctly. Yes. So here it is. It is about identifying the suitable call and call analysis. Now, you may take part as SME. Well, provided, of course, that your country is actually either a European Union member state or associated country with an agreement to participate. You can then apply and take part. And all legal entities, regardless of their status, are eligible. You can apply as SME, an NGO, or a startup, as mid-caps or a large industry. Public administration can take part in the program projects. Research organizations, of course. And so you fundamentally have 3 different pathways. One would be as a sole participant, and meaning that there would be only one organization in the project, leading and implementing the project, or as a partner in a consortium, or a consortium leader. So those are major pathways that I shall address a little bit. And choosing the correct call topic is all about finding the right fit for your interests within the available opportunities and particularly constraints. And Horizon Europe really offers a very wide variety of funding opportunities. Now, the funding and tenders portal has a search option, and you can search open and forthcoming calls, of course, based on the calls and topic titles and topic identifiers, descriptions, keywords, and so on. The link, of course, is provided here, but it's easy for you to just Google it. So 3 most common roles. Project leader with no other partners, meaning project leader for projects with only one participating organization and no other partners, is a rarely possible role throughout the Horizon Europe. So that would probably be only within European Innovation Council Accelerator Scheme. That's how it's called, and later on I'll explain it. And this scheme offers this possibility for single startups and SMEs, including spin-outs and individuals intending to launch a startup or SME, and in exceptional cases, mid-caps as well. European Innovation Council Transition Scheme offers this possibility as well for single applicants and as well spin-offs, part of the research organization, universities, though to a small consortium as well as an option to 2 to 5 partners. The proposals are welcome. So it's highly probable that applicants won't be applying individually on average. And as well, those type of actions need to build on results from previous Pathfinder, Future and Emerging Technology schemes, or European Research Council proof of concept projects, and so on. Next option for you is to be a consortium leader in a consortium with other partners. Now, for organizations to embark on a consortium leader role in projects with other partners, adequate management and financial capacity is required. So a consortium is a group made up of 2 or more organizations that work together to achieve project objectives, and consortium leader is responsible for project management, including coordination, monitoring, controlling of other partners, as well as communication with the contracting authority. That would typically be European Commission. The majority of calls in Horizon Europe require small or large consortiums to apply for projects. For over 90% of the program calls, consortium sizes significantly vary based on the type of action. At some point, we had average 7, 12, and 15, depending on whether it is a research and innovation action or innovation action or CSA action, and may include diverse partners, of course, academia, research and development, industry, SMEs, NGOs, and so on, depending on the call requirements. Now, consortium leader roles requires sufficient expertise and experience in managing EU-funded projects. Well, therefore, it is possible only for organizations with appropriate size and management and financial capacity, and of course, previous experience. So for majority of you who are novice and beginners, it's unlikely that you will be consortium leaders. It's more likely that you will be partners in a consortium. And the majority of participants actually are partners in other people's consortiums. So you may, as a partner, be responsible for managing work packages, tasks, or assisting in task implementation within a project. Ideally, partners are responsible for activities that advance their own organizational development agenda. And that's the key of your negotiations with other members of the consortium and consortium leader. Each partner needs to provide credible justification for its role and responsibility. Why it has been included in a consortium. In a Horizon Europe as a partner, you may be any legal entities eligible. And this includes research centers, universities, enterprises, non-governmental organizations, and so on and so on. Once, of course, provided that you're successful, when the consortium leader and partners sign the grant agreement, then you become beneficiaries. We also have some other rules, but I won't spend time in this moment explaining them. Now, how to find a call? And this is by far for those who are thinking to embark on Horizon Europe and consider participating and getting a grant. The most common challenge. What should you look for? The first question, of course, is, am I eligible? And most likely you are. There are different types of calls, like research innovation actions that I mentioned, innovation actions, coordination, support actions, and so on and so on. All European and associated countries, legal entities are eligible to apply. So I won't explain in more detail what are typical activities under research innovation actions. an example, they would be including activities aiming to establish new knowledge and or to explore the feasibility of a new improved technology, product, process, service, or solution, and so on. I'll address those type of questions in a bit longer trainings. And of course, you are advised to read guides that we will publish. So I shall focus at the moment on a practical example. Once you open your participants portal page and do a keyword search. Now, what I've done, I typed social networks because it's a very popular topic to see what kind of results I'm going to get. Unfortunately, not all calls are yet published. At the moment, we have draft work programs, so my search included also drafts. Now, if they're publicly not, well, most of them are available, but it should be emphasized that those are drafts and may be changed at some stage. So what I have found is a call which will probably be published in the next few months. And as a result of social network keyword search, there is a call, Politics and the Impact of Online Social Networks and New Media. And now I'll guide you to the logic on, okay, so I found a call now, and there's a lot of text. Now, what should I be looking at? So firstly, you can notice what is planned, estimated, actually, EU contribution. And somewhere there in the call text, you can find a statement like the EU estimates the EU contribution of between 2 and 3 million euros would allow these outcomes, meaning proposal and project and expected outcomes, which are listed in the text, to be addressed appropriately. Well, that's actually what your project needs to achieve. And the overall indicative budget, of course, for the topic, when you look, is 9 million. So it's reasonable to expect, if draft is not dramatically changed, that more than one proposal may be funded, given their requested contribution is between 2 and 3 million. Now, next, what you can see is, well, it's written as under type of action. And for this topic, it's stated that it is a research and innovation action. And at this point, you need to go to a definition of what exactly is research and innovation action. Now, if you look carefully, it states that it's consisting of activities aiming to establish new knowledge, explore the feasibility of new and improved technology, product, process, service, or a solution. And for this purpose, they may include basic and applied research, technology development and integration, testing and validation of small-scale prototypes in a laboratory or stimulated environment. Now, projects may contain closely connected but limited demonstration or pilot activities, aiming to show technical feasibility in a near to operational environment. And under Horizon Europe, you will have 45 pages for your proposal, and the funding rate, that's also important, is 100%. Now, at this point, you have some hints about the budget, funding rate, recommended activities, and you can already find some similar models of research and innovation type of actions, projects, with a budget between 2 to 3 million in similar areas, to get some additional orientation about the consortium size, work breakdown structure, and partners' profiles. However, the key to a proper call analysis is to read and analyze all the reference documents and intelligently interpret every word. So next step is to read the scope Now, scope states following, and I've marked in blue those words which should be very important for you. Social media and other internet-based platforms are intertwined with political life. They play important role in allowing people to design, consume, and share political news, seek political information, discuss, make decisions, donate money, or engage with political parties and other organizations. Now, furthermore, these platforms and media are supposed to open new avenues to political engagement and democratic participation. However, developments in the recent past have created anxieties about their capacity to protect citizens from disinformation and to serve as balanced and open public fora for a democratic debate. Now, social platforms and new media are increasingly perceived as conducive to the creation of ideological kind of echo chambers, eroding the space for public dialogue. They are seen as fostering polarization, radicalization, depolitization, spreading misinformation, and subject to manipulations. At the same time, they have been instrumentalized in attempts to covertly influence the political choices of citizens, thus shaping their democratic credentials. So you can see so far the blue parts of the text provide relevant background information that the EC considers to be important. And I shall continue now in the next section, reading the scope, coloring again blue parts, which will provide you more information about activities. What activities are expected in the proposal? What kind of expertise is needed, capabilities, access, or resources as well to achieve expected outcomes. So it states proposals are expected to address following: build Europe-wide evidence on the extent to which political opportunities information offered by platforms and new media and resulting impacts, such as the echo chambers effect, affect political attitudes in European states and at the level of the EU and its neighborhood. Well, now, hence, this indicates that large-scale data gathering and analysis are necessary in the project. For major platforms and new media on a European-wide scale, including its neighborhood, apparently organizations with capabilities to gather and analyze data on these platforms and new media are necessarily, should be necessarily involved as partners in the consortium or be leaders. Possibly those who have designed social network campaigns and measure their impact. So let's proceed with reading the scope. It says assess whether and how new media factions and as well new levels of new selection study the resulting perception biases with citizens. So you need to assess whether and how new media factions as a new level of new selection, probably content-wise, and study the resulting perception biases with citizens. Now, examine the extent to which platforms and new media actually help democratize political systems and offer avenues for active engagement or hinder participation for some. Examine the effects of the replacement of media consumption with content consumption. Investigate how audiences of different ages, genders, socioeconomic, and ethno-linguistic groups receive and assess information on digital platforms, and how political actors use these platforms to shape political behaviors. Now, so far, instruction provide indicate that draft work packages and proposal of a proposal and provide more information about the necessary capabilities of partners. All activities so far they are in line with what is the definition of research innovation type of action to establish new knowledge and basic and applied research. Now, following those instructions, we are probably going to now see the next step, which will build further on these type of activities. So RIAS also states explore the feasibility of new or improved technology, product processes, services, solutions, and so on. What we are going to see, probably in the call text will reflect this, and I'll read it now again. The scope says, propose and design regulatory innovations. So, Commission expects you to propose and design regulatory changes in response to covert instrumentalization of social platforms for political goals. Develop evidence-based approaches and methods for enhancing capacities for digital citizenship, including media education, media competencies, and digital literacy. Attain insight about the effects of social media on social behavior. Citizens' science and other innovative and participatory forms of research could be appropriate for this action. And lastly, of course, you must consider the expected outcomes of the proposal and project. Understand the changes, and so on and so on. Now, based on what we read so far, we can create this, and this is your draft work breakdown structure. So it's, of course, just an exercise, an example. So one of the work packages, of course, would be the project management. The next ones would be a work package to address how political actors use new platforms. Second would be how new media affects news selections and perception biases with citizens. Then effects of content consumption on different audiences and social behavior as a result. Effects on political systems would be the next one. Another work package would address development of new evidence-based approaches and methods. Another, designing regulatory innovations. Lastly, enhancing capacities like media education, media competencies, and digital literacy. Of course, this is just an example, an exercise for creation your understanding and intelligently interpreting instruction, creation of your draft work breakdown structure. So just using logical thinking, anyone interested to participate can and should, of course, do this and create the WBS and just then think, okay, so now I have, after reading this text and intelligently interpreting what it states, a much deeper understanding about activities, expertise, resources needed, and I can identify how can I, my organization, contribute to a call topic. So, of course, the next question is whether you have relevant expertise and whether you can bring some kind of added value to implement those activities described in the draft work breakdown structure and help a consortium achieve the expected outcomes. So essentially, well, in an example, you can think whether you have some experience in, I don't know, media education and competencies to increase digital literacy and so on. Based on that, you ought to create your, what we call a partner's profile, a presentation, and then initiate communication with potential consortium leaders. So in a nutshell, through this brief introductory session, I've elaborated bases on how to create the most effective partner's profile. And then this gives you a very solid base, if you have done that properly, to be invited to join consortiums and take part. Here, I'll make a pause and hope to see you soon in next sessions. Thank you for your attention.